Hey friends, it's Awkwardly Random with Cinthya and Michelle, where we talk about random topics.
Anything and everything awkward is on the table, so let's dive right in.
Hey y'all.
Welcome back
Welcome back to another episode of Awkwardly Random.
with Cinthia and Michelle.
That's right. As y'all probably saw, possibly in our Instagram post on our story, where have we been? We've been busy, y'all. We've been busy.
Yeah.
Things kind of, our schedules got a little bit busier the past few weeks. There was a lot of things going on in our society, and we just thought a little break was good from this. So
yeah.
We're back, but now we will be posting bi-weekly. So stay tuned for that. And but we're ready to get back into it. Another episode yet again.
Yes, we're excited.
Yeah.
We know you missed us. You don't have to lie. We know.
We missed you too. Yeah, we missed you too.
All right, let's check in. How have you been, Beans? Been on hiatus.
Good, for real. I've been
MIA.
good. The weather has been getting so much better. So I've been going outside a lot more, playing tennis with some friends.
Yeah.
Some of my really close friends are fully vaccinated, as am I. So we're feeling a little bit more comfortable hanging out together. Still not in big groups or anything, but just hanging out outside or doing hanging out indoors, but with just a few of us, since we're all fully vaccinated. So little by little, but still taking the precautions that we need to take. But yeah, I've been good. Busy with work. I don't know.
Yeah.
Living life, I guess. Yeah. What about you,
That's
Michelle?
really cool that you're taking advantage of the nice weather and the fact that, that you're vaccinated and can hang out with people. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Me, I've just been working and taking care of little Mia.
Yes.
But yeah, I haven't really done, I've been trying, I've been going to parks with Mia and taking walks, but other than that, I don't really have any friends in New York. So
well, then you just moved there.
Yeah, so I'm just exploring things whenever I can by myself and
That's
Mia.
awesome.
And just working, pretty much working. Work takes up the majority of my time.
Yeah.
And and just being able to watch movies on my free time or things that make me happy. I'm trying to cook more and be more healthy. So
yes.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, we are doing a 2-week workout challenge, and I'm trying to fix my diet for that too, to maximize the results for that. I want to eat healthier during those 2 weeks at least, to see if maybe that'll help.
Same, but right now I'm eating a pelon, so not quite healthy right now.
I haven't had one of those in so long. They're so good. And they're fun. You could just push it and you could see the candy come out.
Yeah, so good.
So good. Okay, y'all. So before we get into our main topic, which we will introduce in a little bit, we thought it'd be fun to start with a little trivia segment, because Michelle and I love TV shows, franchises, movies, all that kind of stuff. So,
yes, come through.
So we're gonna ask some questions and see how well we do. I'm not too confident, but I'm gonna do my best.
Same.
And we're just gonna do it. So we have
it'll be fun if the audience, you want to try to guess these also while you're listening. That would be cool.
And let us know your answers.
Let us know. Comment below, or let us know on our social media.
Yep.
Let's get started.
Yep. So we have 4 different franchises, shows and movies. And then we each have a question for one another for each of the franchises or series or whatever. Okay, so Mish, do you want to ask me first?
Okay. I'll start.
First of all, what's the first?
Yeah, should franchise? I do all of them, or should we go back and forth?
Let's try back and forth, see how that goes.
Okay. First franchise, I have Big Bang Theory.
That's a great
which
show.
is a TV show. Okay. This is kind of easy. So
now question. If I get it wrong.
Okay.
So embarrassed.
Okay, maybe it's not. Okay. This is subjective. This is subjective. I'm sorry.
Okay, it's okay.
So first question, Big Bang Theory. Here we go.
Oh, shoot.
When Professor Proton did a fun science show at Sheldon and Leonard's apartment in season 6, what part particularly amazed Penny?
Did he do something with ice?
Was that your final answer?
What? I remember them sitting in the living room in their apartment and he's
Mhm.
doing it, but I can't remember what the experiment was or what he did.
Come
What the heck? What the
on.
heck?
All right, I'm going
I
to
feel
count
like it
down.
was oh shoot.
10, 9,
Something
8, 7,
disappeared,
6,
something some ice
5,
and smoke and
4,
gas.
3, 2,
I'm full of bullshit.
1.
I don't know.
All right, what's your final answer? You said
He
ice?
he did something with ice.
Wrong.
What did he do?
The potato clock.
The potato clock.
Yeah, Beans. How could you miss it? It's okay. It's okay.
Holy crap, the potato clock.
That was funny because that's when Penny was like, you can solve the world's energy issue with this.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. What season was
Hilarious.
that?
Season 6.
Oh, okay. Oh wow, that's pretty far into it.
Okay.
Dang. Yeah, Mish, that's subjective. That was not easy.
Okay.
I haven't seen that show in months. Okay. No,
Okay,
okay.
your turn.
I have an easy one for you, I think. How did
Subjective, okay?
Yeah, subjective,
I'm
subjectively.
just kidding. Go ahead.
How did Sheldon and Amy meet? How
Through
and where?
Was it through a dating app?
Was it?
I think it was through a dating app, and then they met up I remember they met up somewhere. I don't know if it was a restaurant or somewhere, and she kind of just they thought the same, and they were like, I don't want I don't remember. I think it's dating app. Long That's my last answer, final answer.
I mean, that's correct. So
hey, yeah, that was easy.
if you remember, Raj and Howard filled out a dating app for him, for Sheldon. It's like they kind of forced him into it. And then they took him to a cafe. It was a cafe. And then he went in with the intention of like, this is not going to work. Like, I'm going to reject her, whatever. And then he was like, to his surprise, she was just like him.
Yeah.
And then they hit it off. And then, yeah. So, yeah. Good job.
Thanks. Yeah, that was easy. Thanks for giving me that question.
You're welcome.
Hey.
I thought it was easy, but not like too easy, maybe. I don't know. I wasn't sure. But I thought it was a good one. Okay. You want to ask me about the next one?
Second franchise, Harry Potter.
Yes.
All right. Name all the Weasley children.
Oh my gosh.
Come on.
Okay. Ron, Ginny, Fred, George, Percy. Yeah, right? Percy's his name?
Yep.
And there's another one. Charlie? Is
Yep.
it Charlie? Okay, Charlie.
Yep. One more.
Oh, shoot. I am missing one more.
Come on.
Ron,
you know
Fred, George, Percy, Charlie. Oh. Come on. What's that last one? Is it the kid, the guy that marries? Who's the one that marries one of the girl from the other school?
The better looking Weasley child.
Does it start with the B?
Yes.
Brian.
Is that your final answer?
I don't want it to be, but I think it might have to be. No. But I don't know.
It's Bill.
Bill?
Yeah.
Bill Weasley. Yeah, that sounds right. He's the guy that marries the girl from that school.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, well,
you got it though. You got the majority.
Horrible.
Yeah, that wasn't horrible. That was really good. I'd say that was really good. Okay. I would not have gotten that correct, if I'm being honest.
Really?
Yeah, no. I'm not that huge Harry Potter, like, not like, yeah, I'm just not. Okay. I don't know too much about it, but I like the movies.
Yeah, they're great movies, y'all, in my opinion. Okay, your question is, where does Harry go to teach and train Dumbledore's army?
I don't know. To teach and train. It's in Hogwarts, but isn't it?
But where?
There's a name for it.
What's
There's
the name
like
of the room?
I
There's a
have no
specific
idea.
room that they go to.
Specific room. The
Okay.
bathroom.
Well,
I'm just
if
kidding.
y'all have seen the Harry Potter movies, you know that the bathrooms are more than just bathrooms.
Yeah. I know that there's a spell that they open it, but I don't remember the name of the actual room.
Okay,
So I can't give you an answer.
do you remember in the first movie when he goes and sees the mirror and then he
Yeah.
sees his family there, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's what you want to see, right?
Yeah.
They named the room in that movie also, I believe. The
I
mirror
have
was
no
in
idea.
that room.
That was the first movie, right?
That
The
was the first
Sorcerer's
one.
Stone.
Yeah, when they say the room serves the purpose that you need it to serve.
I don't know what the name of it is.
Okay. It's called the Room of Requirement.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah, that was a hard one. Sorry, I gave you kind of a hard one.
No, you're good.
Okay, next one.
Fast and Furious franchise movies. These are, some of them are good, some of them are bad, but I think this is a sort of easy question, hopefully. Maybe that's subjective again.
We'll see.
All right. The question is, who did Paul Walker play in the Fast and Furious movies?
Brian.
What's his last name? See, that was easy.
Brian, I don't know his last name. But
O'Connor.
I know his name's Brian. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, now I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it.
I have an easy one for you, too. What is Dom's sister's name?
I don't know. I haven't seen those movies in a while.
Same name as your puppy.
Mia.
Yes.
Yay, Mia!
Yeah. So y'all, there's currently 8 movies, but they're coming out with the 9th one this June.
Oh my goodness.
So they're just going. They keep going. Okay. Last series, last franchise, Lord of the Rings. Ask your question.
Lord of the Rings. All right.
I'm gonna completely fail this one.
Oh, come on. If you've seen the movies, you're gonna be able to answer.
It's been years since I've seen the movies.
Okay. This is the question. The members of the Fellowship all attempt to cross a bridge and one does not make it across. Which Lord of the Rings movie did that happen in?
The second one, The Fellowship of the Ring, or is that the first one? The second one. It can't happen in the second movie.
Wait, what?
Are you saying which movie it happened in?
Which movie it happened in?
There's 3 of them, right? There's 3 movies?
There's 3 of them, yeah.
The second or the third? The second? I don't know. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Wait, is that your final answer?
The second. I'm just going to go with the second. I don't know.
You're wrong. It's the first movie.
Oh, it is the first one?
You kind of almost had it because you said the Fellowship of the Ring. That's the first movie.
Oh,
but then you were like the second one. No, that's the first one. But
so what's the name of the second one?
The Twin Towers.
Oh, yeah. And what's the name of the third one?
Return of the King.
Okay. Yeah, I confused. I thought the Fellowship of the Ring was the second one.
No, you're easy.
Fail. Good. Okay. Wow.
That was good, though. That was good.
I got like 2. I got 1.5 out of 4.
No, you got 3 out of 4.
No, because I didn't get the Big Bang. I got part of Harry Potter, and then I got Fast Furious. So that's Okay.
I would give you Harry Potter 2 out of 4.
Okay. Thank you. 50%.
Okay.
It's still an F, but
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Grades don't matter.
We're gonna ask your question.
Okay.
Okay. What is the only way to destroy the ring?
Throwing it into more in the fires of Mordor. Right. What is it called? This is so easy. What is it called?
So it's Mount something.
Mount Doom. Mount Doom.
Yes.
But it's in Mordor.
Sure. Yeah. I just Googled the question.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I need to catch up. Okay, good. You got quite a few. You got
Did I?
You got Big Bang Theory and you got Lord of the Rings. You also got 2 out of 4.
Yeah.
Nice.
Damn. That's good.
You said grades don't matter. We did good.
Yeah. True. Okay, so now let's move it on to our main topic, which is...
Wait. Before that, can you rank them from your favorite to least favorite?
Oh yeah.
What would you say is your favorite franchise out of the ones that we talked about?
Lord of the Rings for sure. That's
Ooh,
number one. What about you? Number one.
Harry Potter, number one.
Okay. Second,
Big Bang.
Harry Potter for me. Harry Potter for me.
Okay. Third, Fast and the Furious.
Third, Big Bang Theory.
Okay. Fourth, Lord of the Rings.
Fast and Furious for me.
And I think I put Lord of the Rings last because I know it the least. But maybe I need to watch it and I might change in my ranking.
No worries, yeah.
Okay, let us know if y'all seen it, any of the franchises, any of the series. Let us know what you think of them, how you would rank them from favorite to least favorite. We'd love to know. And you can either comment down below on our YouTube video, or you can, I don't know, shoot us a message or comment on our Instagram page. Okay. Sorry, Mish, go ahead. Main topic
for today's episode is talking about jobs, employment. We know it's tough with COVID and everything, and people maybe losing their jobs, or people maybe not liking their jobs, which even before COVID, I know people don't like their jobs, or either you do like your job in general.
Yeah.
People need money. So
capitalism.
That is the topic for today.
When Michelle and I plan for these episodes, we try to think about questions, ideas, topics that are relatable and that are prominent within our, like the human experience. So like one of them is getting a job, and in this society and in this world, like you need to have a job, or it's getting a job is an important part of life because you need money to sustain yourself. So,
but it isn't the only important thing in your life.
No, it's not.
Yeah. And just before we get into the conversation, I do want to say that there is a lot of wage inequality.
Yes.
And we definitely need to raise the minimum wage. People should be paid a livable wage. Just for people to know where we stand on that. But, we're going to talk about like maybe looking for jobs, applying, including resume, cover letter, interview, references, interview process, and just giving you all what we think and tips, and also our experiences. But we know that getting a job is hard, especially under these circumstances. So
and just know that the information we're providing is largely based on our experiences. Like my work experience and the jobs that I've done and the interviews I've done are different than Michelle's experiences. And a lot of these things I learned as I was experiencing them. So
same. Yeah.
I hope that this video serves you well and you learn something from this and you get this information before you even have to experience it, because I would have loved to have this information and knowledge beforehand.
Same. Yeah. Trial and error. And there's been times where I've like done terrible.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I haven't gotten jobs because of certain things. But that's what happens. And if you want to learn more and listen about like what we have to say,
just know we're not experts, but we're just going to talk about our experiences. But I think it'd be cool to first start off with like sharing our first job experiences. So I'm curious, Michelle, what was your first job? When did you get it? How old were you? What was the job? What was it like for you? Tell us all of that.
Yeah. My first official job where I got paid was actually when I was in college, right after my freshman year during the summer. So I was 19 years old and I worked as a people counselor, which basically, if you don't know, people is a pre-college program for high schoolers in Wisconsin to go to UW-Madison and take certain classes for the summer. And so, they hire counselors for that summer. And so I was a counselor. What was the job? Basically taking like guiding and being there for high school students and teaching them about the campus and taking them to their classes and answering any
Mm-hmm.
questions and making sure that they're in their dorms or making sure that they are wherever they are, what they're supposed to be. I actually think we should have been paid more because it was technically a 24-hour job
Yeah.
for the entire summer. That's my 2 cents about that. But other than that, that was my official first job.
Mm-hmm.
Even before then, though, I did a lot of volunteering, and I don't think people should sleep on that. On
Yeah.
the other hand, I do think that all type of labor, like any type of labor that you do, you should be paid for. So just wanted to put that as a side note, but you can get a lot of good experience by volunteering, especially if you want to get your foot in the door somewhere. Like volunteering is a good way to do that.
Yeah.
So I did volunteer before then, but my official job where I got paid was people counselor.
Yeah, I also did that same job as you, Michelle. We did it
Was that
together
your
in that
first job?
same. It was not, but before that I worked. Well, let me go back really quickly. The volunteer thing. One of my volunteer experiences did turn into a job. So
Mm-hmm.
I essentially volunteered to care for kiddos while their parents were in like group therapy types of sessions. So I
Yeah.
would kind of provide some of that childcare. And I did it just to volunteer, just because I wanted some more of that experience and
Mm-hmm.
keep working with kids and all that kind of stuff. And then they eventually offered me a position. I was still doing the same thing, but I was getting paid for it this time. So sometimes that does happen, not always, but there is that
Mm-hmm.
opportunity that your volunteering could lead you to maybe that same work turning into you getting paid, or may open a door to a different type of employment.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Mm-hmm.
happens.
Yeah.
But my first job was it was my freshman year. Yeah. So you and I, Michelle, didn't work in high school. Now that I'm
No.
realizing, I think we mentioned this in a previous episode. Now that I
No,
think
yeah,
about
we
it.
didn't. I didn't work in high school.
Yeah, yeah. So my first job was also in college, but it was during my freshman year, like during the academic school year, and it was at like the ice cream shop called the Daily Scoop at Memorial Union on campus.
That
And
place was popping. It
yo,
probably met a lot of people there.
on Saturdays, like students would have like family visit, and they would all go to the
Mm-hmm.
terrace. Like it's like this nice place
I
right
love
off
the
of the lake.
terrace.
Yeah, there's
It's
like
such a
tables.
beautiful
Sometimes there's
place.
live music. You're off the lake. You could see the
Beer,
sunset. Yeah,
cheese
yeah,
curds. So
yeah,
it's so beautiful. It's like the best
yeah,
place ever, kind of on campus.
yeah, yeah. And not gonna lie, the ice cream in Wisconsin is
It
pretty
was
good.
really good.
It's
Really good.
popping.
Yeah, it's
So
popping.
yeah, so then it got really busy on the weekends, and that was when I worked on the weekends because I was a full-time student, and I decided to do this part-time, just like
Mm-hmm.
extra pocket money, I guess. Um so I did that. That was my only experience ever with like customer service. Um it was good. I had like really nice coworkers. I wasn't like friends with them, but we would chat here and there and kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
just talk it throughout our shift whenever it got calmer and like we didn't really have anybody. We would just kind of like sit and chat, and then yeah. But it was fine. I feel like it was a good first job. I don't know. Didn't really no complaints, but it was like physical labor having to scoop that damn ice cream. Sometimes it was like
Yeah.
super freaking frozen, and it worked out my arm.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, and then I did what you did, Michelle. I was a counselor. But were you a lead counselor that first summer?
Mm-mm. I was a regular counselor that first summer. Then
Okay.
after sophomore year, I was
Yeah.
lead counselor for the second summer that I worked there. And then after
Okay.
that, like when I actually got like a not just a summer position, but like a job long term was
Yeah.
when I worked at the Cross College Advising Center. I worked in the
Mm,
career advising office as a career peer, which was awesome.
cool.
I was there for 2 years, my junior and senior year. Um, and that's where I like was able to actually have like a job. I think because it's like the people counselor job is a very different job than
Yes.
having an office job and doing an administrative work, and all that type of stuff. So I really enjoyed that. But I know in terms of jobs, I've had a range of jobs in terms of like office, like working at law firms,
Mm-hmm.
working at and I also worked in retail. So that was a whole different experience in itself. But and that was after college when I first started law school, just because in general, I don't think it matters. I think I know people always talk about like customer service jobs in a negative way, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people should.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to, so basically I worked at Banana Republic the beginning of my law school year, and I did it for an entire year just because I wanted, money that I thought was easy to make. I could just go to my shift and interact with people and like
Yeah.
create outfits for them. It was still very stressful. It was not very fun,
Mm.
just because the particular customers that shop at Banana Republic, yeah, that was a little tough, but I
Yeah.
learned a lot in terms of like customer service and talking to people and like conflict resolution and all that type of stuff. But in general, yeah, I think I've had a range of jobs that have, I don't know, I've learned a lot from all of those experiences, not just in like working in them, but also like when it came to applying and interviewing for all the jobs that I've had.
Right.
But it's tough, man. If you're in a job where you provide customer service, that like some of the like hardest, most like nice people work those jobs. So
Yeah.
I definitely think those type of people need more respect and should be treated better,
And paid
because it's
better.
not easy. Yeah, and paid way better.
Yeah.
So definitely tip, like if you're ever if you ever go to a restaurant or order food or do
Yeah.
takeout or anything, like definitely tip. um but yeah,
Yeah. A lot of
I went
those
on a rant,
workers.
sorry about that.
No, that's okay. A lot of those workers rely on tips because, I've learned about I know some people that work like in restaurants or, whatever, and their wages are really low. So they have to
Hmm.
rely on the tips to make money.
Hmm.
Um, So I second that, Michelle. I think we need to tip and we need to pay them better and just like respect them. Like what the heck? People are so mean to retail workers and just in general. I think a lot of
Hmm.
people look down on that type of work. And I think it's
Yeah.
like if you've never done it, you don't even know what it's like. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
who,
And you don't know the background of these people just
yeah,
because they're doing like
right.
a job. Like me when I was in retail, like I had a bachelor's degree.
You were in
I
law
had an
school.
I was in law school. I had another job and I was volunteering, and it was just more money that I needed just to
Yeah.
survive. So you don't know these like people's backgrounds when you go to either restaurants or retail stores. Just because someone is working there doesn't mean that, I don't know, doesn't meet whatever your assumptions are, and regardless of that, they should be treated with respect.
Yeah, regardless of anything.
Yeah.
So you said you had a range of jobs. I had kind of a range too, but mostly within that child development, child care field. But
Mm-hmm.
it's there in terms of my positions, they've also changed quite a bit. But let's first talk about looking for a job. Like where do you go to look? And I feel like nowadays with the pandemic, it's been a lot more online. It's been
Mm-hmm.
online for a while now, but even more so now that we've had to stay home for more time. But like, yeah, what are some tips that we can give our listeners in terms of where do we find jobs? Where do we look for
Yeah, I would
jobs?
say, I mean, you could definitely do like websites
Yeah,
like
there's Indeed.
LinkedIn, Indeed,
Yeah,
Career Builder. I know we have those in our list, but also networks. A lot of the jobs that
yeah,
I've gotten are from my network. So, like the career peer one, I heard it through one of my advisors. Hey, sorry.
yeah. Word of mouth is very powerful.
Yeah,
Hi,
most of my
Mia.
jobs I got from word of mouth and networking. So the career peer one was one. Um, and then I was a proctor of like testing exams. That was
Cool.
also word of mouth. And I really didn't have to do anything with that one. And then law firm job one was through a website.
Mm-hmm.
And then all my other ones in law school were networking, but then also like with the counselors there. Um, but especially if you know somebody, that would be good. And I've been able to help other people get jobs because
Yeah.
they know me in terms of law school, where my job was hiring and I had to leave. I got
Mm-hmm.
like 3 people hired.
Nice.
And in my job now, I was able to get someone hired. So in general, like networking is important. And if you are one of like those people that have access and know that jobs are like open, you should definitely put the word out there and try to open up a space for someone in your community to, get those jobs because they're
Mm-hmm.
good paying jobs. So yeah, definitely I would say those two are what worked for me.
Yeah, that's a great way to lift the community up and just like provide more access to people, because sometimes I feel like there's opportunities that you miss because you just like you for some reason didn't find it or didn't come across it. But when someone tells you or someone lets you know like, hey, there's an opening at my job, that can
Mm-hmm.
really help somebody out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's really good. Yeah, I use LinkedIn. I've used Indeed before. In terms of my particular jobs, I was a nanny for about a year. The We're like a really great family, really sweet kids. I
Mm-hmm.
found them online actually through a website called care.com. You just make a profile, you kind of write a little bit of background information about yourself, then you can like message back and forth, and then they'll let you know if they want you to come in for an interview or not. And it kind of, it's very much individualized. That's also a good way to find families. Be careful with what you say and where you meet people online.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they could be lying straight to your face. So you have to be careful with that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
online, I feel like has become such a prominent way of like finding jobs and connecting with people. In networking events, like I feel like with COVID, networking events in person like may be canceled or have like limited capacity and stuff, but there's always ways to network online, and you can build
Yeah.
a like an online presence like LinkedIn that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of looks like Facebook in a way, but it's for professionals. And you can like
Yeah.
uh, you have like requests for connections and whatnot, and then you can put kind of like it's kind of like a resume, your experiences, what you do for work, and then
Yeah.
people will kind of I've had people message me based on what they read on my profile and say, hey, we think you might be good for this, we see that
Yeah.
you have this and this experience. So things kind of just happen that way too. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a variety of ways to do it. um
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah, and
keep going.
networking just can be difficult and like
Yes.
awkward and scary, and that's
Yes.
totally understandable. I feel that. I feel you. As an introvert, I know what you feel like, but
Mm-hmm.
you kind of just have to try it, put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Um, if it starts getting in person more, and there are these events, especially with like schools and especially law school more, where they have a lot of networking events,
Yeah.
definitely take a buddy with you and bounce off each other and meet people together. That definitely helped me. But then also don't be afraid to ask for someone's card for their information and then follow up. A lot of people just don't follow up after they meet someone, and that speaks a lot to people when you follow up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's it's about building those meaningful professional relationships, and hopefully that can open some doors to opportunities for jobs or anything like that. So it's hard, it's awkward, it can be uncomfortable, but yeah, if you can bring someone with you, or even if you have to do it online, build a presence, network online. I don't know. There's ways to do it. Um, but yeah, that's a good point, Michelle, that we have to validate those feelings that it's not the easiest thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So speaking of jobs, what about part-time versus full-time? What's your experience with that, Mish?
I've done both. Part-time for clerking when I was in school,
Mm-hmm.
because I could not possibly do full-time.
Yeah.
But then in the summers I would pick up and be full-time. I guess it just depends on availability for, the job that you're applying for and for you and the time that you have. I know people have
And
other
financially.
commitments. Yeah, financially, and people have other commitments, like maybe you're in school or maybe you have kids or other things. So I think it just
Mhm.
depends on what you need and what you're looking for. um and yeah, it just depends.
Yeah. My full times were all either in the summer or after I graduated. So I never worked full time during school, but I know people that did because the
Mm-hmm.
money.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's very real and it's hard. And I don't know how I would have handled that. I had a really hard time even just doing part time during grad school.
Yeah, it's
So
hard.
it really depends on your situation and how you cope with things and if you're able to do it and all that kind of stuff. But
Mhm.
Yeah, full-time is more of those like 40-hour weeks. Part-time is like 20 hours and below, I would say.
Mhm.
Um, right now I'm currently working in terms of my job doesn't really fit the full-time part-time like
Oh, really?
like template necessarily. Like I'm getting a full paycheck. Okay, how do I even explain this? I am being paid hourly, but I don't work the
Mhm.
full 40 hours because that would be like
Mhm.
40 families in a week, you know?
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's because my job is very client based. Um,
Mhm.
it still feels like I'm working full time almost because my days are busy, but I'm not working full 40 hours.
Oh, okay. That
Does that
makes
make
sense.
sense? Okay,
Yeah.
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 I had a hard time kind of explaining that.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. For me
Yeah,
right now, I'm working full time, which is 40 hours a week.
yeah,
Um, and it's a lot better than when I had to like work part-time and go to school because I feel like school is a lot of hours.
yes,
So I definitely like just being post law school and just having a full-time job. And I am salary, which is different than what I was used to getting paid hourly. So
mm-hmm,
with salary, at least at my job, um, regardless of how many, I mean, obviously I still have to work the 40 hours, but I still get the same amount of money each time I get paid.
yeah,
And then right now, what my office is doing because of COVID and with everything in New York City, um, our job is like part remote and part in person. So if we do have to go into the office and due to COVID, we get additional money if we go into the office for hazard pay because COVID.
oh,
But since the city is reopening soon, that'll end.
mm-hmm,
But in general, I feel very fortunate to have, a full time job that is salary and I have
yes,
benefits, especially in 2020 and 2021 now. So I know that I'm very, privileged in that way. Um, so yeah.
yeah. If I could, I have experience with both salary and hourly, and if I could pick, I would choose to go the salary route.
Mhm.
And especially with this job, it's out of your control whether a family cancels, right? So if the family cancels, you don't have therapy, you miss that hour, we don't get paid that hour,
Mhm.
So yeah, I would definitely the salary route seems to be what what I would prefer. It depends obviously on the job and for everybody, everybody's preference is different, but
Mhm.
salary is a nice way to get paid because you get the same amount regardless of whether you work 38 or 42
Mhm.
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I know some people actually do going back to the part-time full-time. Some people have done part-time school and full-time work.
Yeah.
So that's also
Yeah.
an option. There's different ways to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
So I know we talked about looking for jobs. The next step is applying. So
Applying, actually doing it.
I know applying always gets me nervous. I'm
And
always
I
so
get anxious
anxious.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
And especially like
Um,
online, when people apply on, I've applied to jobs online and there's no certainty that they're going to get back to you because there's so
mhm,
many people that are applying online. That's like the
mhm,
thing to do now. And so, like, you kind of have to be realistic and not get your hopes up too much.
mhm.
And just, yeah. But okay. So, what elements do we need to talk about in terms of applying for jobs online?
Um, at least the ones that I know are either if it's an application online, fill out that application.
Yeah, your
But
info.
generally, you need like a resume. And with certain jobs, not all jobs, they would want you to write a cover letter,
Yeah.
um, which can be a lot of work. It
Yep.
is a lot of work in general, both resume and cover letter
But the resume is
can be
more
a lot of work.
common. The resume is more common than the cover letter.
Hmm. Yeah.
I've only had to write a cover letter maybe 2 or 3 times, but every single time they've always asked for a resume.
Dang, 2 or 3 times?
Yeah, I haven't had to write very many.
I've had to write so many, so freaking many.
Really? So you're probably
Yeah,
good at
so many.
them. I'm always so
Yeah,
nervous to write them.
I think I'm standard at it. I mean, I know like what to include, like I
Yeah.
know I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but since I've written a lot, I kind of know the gist of it.
Yeah. Well, let's define them. So like the resume is kind of like how I would describe it or how mine looks like is kind of like a list of like my experiences, education, volunteer work, skills, abilities that are that pertain to kind of your professional identity.
Awards, achievements.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, scholarships, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
That you kind of put in a document. I have it organized where I have it like bullet pointed. Like I have like the title that I had, where I worked, the title of the position that I held at the time, how long I was there for. I don't give specific dates, but like let's say like May 2020 to May 2021, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then and
Same.
then I'll put like a list of like my job duties, my responsibilities.
Yeah.
So it's a way to kind of show the employer your experience firsthand on paper. After that, they'll most likely in the interview, they'll probably ask you things about your resume, but we'll get to that later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So for the resume, yes, exactly what you said. Just some tips that Cinthia and I both came up with when
Yeah.
it comes to resume is make sure you start from recent to oldest. Just
Mm-hmm.
because when someone is looking at your resume, they're just gonna scan it. Like
Yeah.
they're not really, at least from what I've been told, people just usually scan it, don't really read everything. So just make sure everything is uniform and like visually appealing. That is a big thing.
Yeah.
No spacing has to be uniform. Keep it to one page if you can.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really good rule to follow. But sometimes when people have like maybe more experience or
Yeah.
you know you've been working for a longer period of time, like it makes sense to make it a little bit longer too.
Yeah.
Just don't go over 2 pages, I would
Definitely
say.
not.
But yeah, just try to make it easy for the people that's going to read it, and also use key terminology. Like try to include some of the words from the description of the job in your resume, but then also
Mm-hmm.
like when you write about like the skills that you've done. So like for example, I worked at Banana Republic, right? It's a retail job, and there are a lot of transferable skills that I have gained through that job, like customer
Yeah.
service and conflict resolution and all these other things that I learned in that job that can apply to, you know, my job now where I'm working
Right.
with clients and I'm representing them. You know what I mean? So just because you've had other jobs that may not necessarily fit what you're professionally going for in your career, like that doesn't mean that they haven't added value to you or
Exactly.
added value to, you know, your skills that you've gained. So
Mm-hmm.
don't be ashamed of any of the jobs that you've had, and definitely try to write it as best as you can. And you know, if you want to use like thesaurus or you know other dictionary.com to amplify the words, just make sure
Mm-hmm.
they make sense.
Yeah.
Definitely do that.
If you're comfortable with it, have someone else, proofread it or look through it and
Mm-hmm.
give you tips. I know I've sent my resume to a few people and my cover letters to a few people just to
Mm-hmm.
like get their
Same.
thoughts on it and get some other
Yeah.
perspectives. But, definitely if you're comfortable with that, I would have another set of eyes look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say definitely have someone else look at it.
Yeah.
Someone that you trust.
That you trust. Yes. What I have too is like a master resume where it's like 2 pages, almost three, of just like all my experiences, like
Mm-hmm.
everything that I could think of that I've done. And then I have a different resume where it's just like a 1 pager of like my most recent or my most relevant, I would say, to depending on the
Yeah.
job that I'm applying to, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
can also do that if you find that helpful. You can have your master resume, like everything on it. However, it can be as long as you want or as long as you need it to be. And then you can customize it a different resume using the information for the master resume to use that for your jobs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's another
Yeah.
option, something else you could do. The
Yeah.
cover letter is something completely different. I don't have too much experience with it, like I said, but essentially it's a letter that you write to your employer, right? To the job, basically telling them why you're interested, how you would be an asset to their work, right? Or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. And
And why they
then
should hire
why
you.
they should hire you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, for the resume, I would say very similar. Like, look at the job description and try to
Yeah.
use
Do
similar
your research.
wording in that. Do your research for sure. Actually, sound like you're interested in the job. Like we said, like do your research. Try to add some detail about like either the organization or the company or whatever into your cover letter and how it relates to you and why you're interested in it. And then also describe like what you want to gain from this experience, but also how you can benefit them and them hiring you. So
Yeah.
that's just like the basics of it. And one tip that was given to me is, at the beginning when you address it, you're like, dear whatever, right? Most people write dear to whom it may concern, because usually you don't know who the hiring manager is or who is the person hiring. But if you can actually do the research and find out, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not always possible, but especially if you're in college or law school and you find these jobs, usually we find these jobs through college, like through our counselors and stuff, and our advising counselors. Yes. They may have those connections, so reach out to them and say, hey, I'm going to apply to this. Do you know who is the hiring manager for it? And they'll give you the information. That's what I did in a lot of the jobs that I applied for in law school. And a lot of the people, the job, I forget what they're called, the counseling, when it comes to the jobs, I forget what their names are.
Yeah.
But they definitely are there. They get paid to help you with your resume, for your cover letter, to look for jobs, to find employment. So definitely try to utilize them, because I definitely did. And that's how I landed all of my jobs basically in law school. So yeah, definitely, like I said, when you write dear, try to find the name of the person. If not, dear to whom it may concern, it's fine. But like I said, try to find the person.
Yeah. And how long are cover letters? Usually just like less than a
Just
page.
1 page.
A few paragraphs, right?
3 paragraphs or 4 paragraphs.
Yeah.
No more than 4 paragraphs.
Okay.
Try to make the paragraphs not very bulky, because that just does not look fun to read in general. Like I said, you want to make it visually appealing, and you want people to like be able to like, for me, like sometimes I'm just like skimming in like certain things.
Yeah.
I say this because I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but yeah, just try to make it visually appealing. And
yeah, they'll most likely skim a lot of, like you said, the resumes, the cover letters, all that kind of stuff, because a lot of times what happens is employers get a lot of applicants in a given time, and they just, for sake of time, or I don't know all the details, but they tend to just kind of like skim, and they don't got time to like read all of it, every single word. So keep it concise, to the point, visually appealing.
But make it good.
Job, make it well written, good. Yeah. Have people read it,
grammar,
check it.
misspellings, all of that. Because if you do get past the first round, usually people look at everything and then they're like, okay, well, now we want an interview. So in the interview, they're going to ask you about your resume or cover letter, or they'll ask you like, tell me about your job experience. So you're going to have to refer to that on the resume, and you can refer to things on cover letter, but don't assume that like when you go to an interview, sorry, I'm going forward, but
no, that's okay.
Sorry. But yeah, don't assume when you go into the interview that they've like have read the resume or cover letter, because maybe they haven't.
Right. Yeah, you just don't know. And then like sometimes what happens is like first they skim the resume or the cover letter, and then once you get to that next round, if there is a second round in the interview process, then they'll really look into it with a little bit more detail, so you got to be careful with that.
Yeah. And side note, if you put a language on your resume, make sure you're able to actually speak the language. I don't know if this has happened to you, Beans, but I know for me specifically, they've asked me, like, introduce yourself in Spanish, or like, what do you like to do in the weekend in Spanish? So I would have to answer it. Obviously, I know how to speak Spanish, but with other people who may not know how to speak certain languages that they put like they're like proficient in or advanced, like, just keep in mind that they may ask you that. And I've heard from other people that they're starting to do that, because a lot of people are saying, like, I speak this language, but they don't actually do. So just keep that in mind if you do put that on your resume.
I haven't had that experience where they had me speak the language that I said I spoke, but they asked me if I do speak it, and I would say yes. Or I'd be like, yeah, I'm proficient in it. I can hold conversation, but that's it, right?
I've had it done to me twice. It threw me off, but I was still able to do it. But I was like, oh, okay.
Wait, can I ask what languages do you have on there? Spanish?
Just Spanish.
Okay.
I had French before.
I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna have French.
I did put that for the job that I have, but I was like, I'm beginner. I don't know if I'm actually beginner. I can definitely understand French. I can
Yeah.
speak it very little, but my accent is terrible. But I can
Same.
read it and I can like understand it when people talk to me. You just gotta speak a little slow. But other than that, I would say I'm beginner. But
Yeah.
yeah, I make sure not to put that because it's just like or if I do put that, I'm very clear at like what my level is
Right.
because I
Yeah,
don't want
put
to
your
like,
level on there. You should be honest
yeah.
about that. Don't say you're fluent in Italian if you're not fluent in Italian, Just say, if you really want to put a
See,
language in there, then like if you feel like you need to put that language in there, just say like you're beginner or proficient
I would say
or
proficient if you're not.
intermediate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Proficient, I
Yeah,
would
just
say, is a good one
I'm just saying be careful with what you put on.
because they'll ask you about it.
They'll ask you about it. Yeah.
Can you imagine if they would have asked you to speak something, like say something in French, if you had French in there?
Oh,
Je
I would.
m'appelle
Je m'appelle
Michelle.
Michelle. J'adore le gâteau.
There you go. That's all you need, Mish. That's all you need. Hands down, they're gonna offer you the job. Je suis. I don't even know.
Je
Contente.
suis très désolée. My accent is terrible. All
Yeah,
right,
mine's
let's
really
keep
bad
going.
too. Okay.
No, but yeah, I mean, I can speak very little. I can understand it definitely a lot more than what I can speak it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. I studied in high school, but I forgot a lot of it. Okay. Before we get into the conversation of applying to a job that you maybe are not technically qualified for, there is another part of the interview. I mean, application process that is references. So not every
Yeah.
job will ask you for references, but some will. And essentially, it's having people speak highly of you and letting the job know you should hire this person because of X, Y, and Z, right? So you can have personal references, which is less common, or professional work references. So professional, I would consider as like, an advisor, a professor, a supervisor, a manager. I probably not coworker, right? I don't think that would be the
I
best
haven't used a
one.
coworker, but it wouldn't be the best one, but it would be an option if you don't have
It would
anything
count.
else.
Okay.
I would say it would count. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
I'm not an expert.
I'm not an expert either. But from my experience, they've only asked for professional references and they've asked for like 3. I haven't had nobody has asked me for more than 3, but nobody has also asked me for just 1. So they'll typically ask you for like 2 or 3 references. So it's good to have those ready.
Yeah.
So how do you get references? Mish?
You ask.
Yeah, ask.
Ask. The different ways of asking can vary, I think, depending on like your relationship with the person. I know people do it in person, but maybe with COVID that's not possible. So maybe writing a letter or maybe giving them a phone call, depending on like again your relationship with that person. I usually was told to do it through email. So with all of my references that I've ever had, I would put the email, but then I also would have like a follow-up, either if I like would see them in person, like with my jobs. So I would let them know like, hey, just to confirm, like I am going to put you on as my reference and they're going to contact you. But in the initial email, I explain, I would ask them if they would feel comfortable being one of my references, and I'll tell them like, as my manager or like as my supervisor, I feel you are the most adequate in speaking on my work because I would explain why I would think that they're the most appropriate for that, and ask them if they would be okay with being a reference, and then I would let them know like, can you let me know by this date, or like I'll say like, but for the most part, I've never had anyone deny my request. So thank you to all of my references.
Yes.
So yeah, that was the simplest for me. And someone who's very introvert, like I said before, and like can get anxious with these things, I prefer email. But if it was someone a little bit more personal, I would ask them through the phone. But for me, I've always done email, and it's worked out for me, and vouch for me. But like one very important thing is to make sure you ask before you put someone on as a reference, because you want
Yes.
them to be prepared for someone to contact them.
Yes.
And so yeah, just make sure you ask someone before you put them on.
Yep.
And don't discount personal references. I know certain types of jobs or things that you're looking for require personal references. I
Yeah.
have been personal references for people, so don't discount that.
Yeah. Also, let them know what the job is, give them some details of the
Mm-hmm.
job so that they have some information. What I've done a few times too is like either send them the website of the job, if they
Mm-hmm.
have a website so they can like look at it. It doesn't take too much time to just kind of skim a website. Um, I've also sent them my resume so that they also have some more things to go off of if they feel like maybe they don't have enough
Mm-hmm.
information about me. Depending on the relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of your references might know you very well and know your experience and your skills and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, and some might not, and that's okay. You can just or you can even tell them you can even in the email list a few things or send them your resume. Um, tell them why you want this job or, provide information that you feel is going to help make their job easier in terms of talking to your employer, to your possible and potential employer about you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've usually done it where I have sent the email, but um, if I'm close to them or I feel comfortable enough to do it, I'll typically go first for the in person if I get a chance to see them. Obviously, with
Mm-hmm.
COVID is different, but before I would either ask in person or give them a
Mm-hmm.
phone call. I would try to
Yeah.
make it more personal. If I have the relationship, if I'm comfortable, if that's their preferred mode of communication too. Some people might be really busy and be like, okay, just email me. It's faster. It's easier.
Mm-hmm.
So you could do that too. Any of those is perfectly okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
I would say
then
so, yeah.
yeah, the resume, the cover letter, the references, and then we go on to possibly the interview process, depending on if you get an
Yeah.
interview.
If you get an interview, congrats if you do.
Congrats, you
And
made it this
congrats if
far.
you don't. You still did
Yes,
it. You still
you still
put
did it.
yourself out there. Um,
I'm such an anxious person and I get so nervous with interviews all the freaking time.
Same.
Oh, I get so nervous.
Same.
So,
I'm so yeah, same as you. I'm an anxious person. I'm also
yeah.
a very awkward person.
Same.
Um, that's why this is called awkwardly random.
Yep, that's right.
So interviews are kind of hard, I think, in my opinion. So I mean, I've done a lot of interviews to be quite honest. I think for every single job that I have had, I've had to interview except for the
Me too.
Proctor one. Other than that, every single job that I've had an interview for.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also had interviews with jobs that I didn't get because I just bombed those interviews.
It
So
happens. It
I have
happens.
experience in good interviews and bad interviews. So
Yeah.
I have some tips. Beans and I have some tips to share
Yes.
to maybe help you if you are going through the interview process, or just to prepare you in advance if you're going to have an interview in general.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a lot and it can be hard, but be yourself. I know that's so fucking cheesy to say, but it's the reality. And I know that we're all super nervous and anxious, and that
Mm-hmm.
is okay.
Yep.
But just try to remain calm, by like speaking slowly or like taking deep breaths. We'll go into like more specific steps,
Mm-hmm.
but I know our first reaction when we're like, we have an interview, we're excited, but also we're very nervous.
Nervous.
And that makes sense. But before going into the interview, I would say definitely do your research
Yeah.
on wherever it is you're applying, whatever it is, the title that you're applying for, and the job duties, like actually know them, know the mission of wherever you're trying to work for. And also, like, try to remember or memorize what you put in your resume and your cover letter, because that may help you in answering their questions. And also make sure you have questions prepared like at the end of the interview, because every single time where they're finished with the interview, they'll ask you, do you have any questions? And I know one job specifically, they didn't like someone asking questions. And so I knew that going ahead of time. And I actually got the job and I was like, no, I have no questions. And I actually got the job. But there's other times where most jobs, I think most jobs want you to have questions. So definitely have questions prepared for the interview.
Yeah, I think it kind of shows them too that you're interested, right? You're kind of showing them like this, I've put in the work to like research you. I have some questions. I want to get your information. Like it just kind of shows that interest.
It depends on the question.
Depends on the question. Yep.
Because some people are going to be like, oh, they'll ask like very generic, general questions, which are okay. But they're not the best because you're not actually showing how you're interested. So make the questions kind of specific to show them that you did the research.
Yeah. That's kind of where I was going with, but that's a good, I didn't even think about those more generic ones. You can look up online like most common interview questions, like so you can even practice answering certain questions before you go into the actual interview. I've done that a few times and it's actually been pretty helpful because some of those questions like they will ask you, like there's the very common ones like why are you interested in this position,
or tell me about yourself.
Super
common.
It's kind of like the first thing they ask you. What is it? What can you offer or how do they ask this? Why would you think you'd be good for this position or something like that, right?
Or why should we hire you?
Why should we hire? There we go. That's what I was trying to get to. Why should we hire you?
They also ask like
questions.
How do you see yourself in 5 years, or where do you see yourself in 5-10 years? They'll definitely ask that. Or like they'll ask you about like pay, like how much do you want to get paid? I know in a lot of mine I didn't get asked that during the interview, except for one when I worked at Banana Republic. And I definitely shot high. But we can go into that in a little bit.
I never knew how to negotiate a salary. I never was taught that. I had never had any experience with that. No job has asked me what I would like to get paid except for the job that I have now. Like that's it. So, and I never I didn't know about negotiating salary until after I did that, until after I had that question asked. I'm like, and I froze because I didn't know what to answer. I didn't want to like shoot low. I didn't want to shoot too high. Like if that was even possible, like should I have given a range? Because I did give my interviewer a range of where I think I would want to be paid. And then of course they went to kind of like the lower part of that range. But you gave a really good tip, Michelle, when we were preparing for this, is if you give a range, shoot higher, right? Like give a narrower range, right? But like on the higher side.
That's what I did.
I should have done that.
I mean, I was never taught like this is what you should do for negotiating a salary, but I definitely think people should negotiate a salary. I specifically don't know how to do that. But I can tell you what I did. What I did was I gave a range, but I gave on the higher end. So whatever my low one was, I went up and then I went up the range. And then I narrowed the range. That way they can pick either way, regardless, they were going to go higher than what I anticipated. And that I only did it once and they didn't say anything about my range. They were like, okay, cool, we can do that. I can't give more advice than that. So that's what I did in my circumstance. But definitely if you have already started a job and are currently in that job and have been there for over a year, you should ask for a raise. That would be my tip. If you've been there for longer than a year and you have not gotten a raise, I would ask.
And that can be scary to do and uncomfortable. And at the same time, you should feel empowered to be able to advocate for yourself, especially if you've been there for over a year and you're still kind of getting paid that same rate as when you first started. I mean, that's a year of your life that you committed to working for them. So, you know, you deserve that raise.
Yeah. And it can be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And there's different ways to go about it. But there should be avenues in your job for you to be able to do that.
So with the interview also, there are different types of interviews. Sometimes you'll be interviewed by one person. Sometimes you'll be interviewed by a group of people. I don't remember being interviewed by a group of people. I think maybe like by two people at most. Either way, that's freaking scary and it's terrifying and it gets me really nervous. Michelle, I know you have some experience with that.
Yeah.
Let us know, because I don't have too much experience with that.
Yes, I've been interviewed individually. I've been interviewed by two people, and I've been interviewed by groups of 3 to 4 people.
Oh, that sounds
3
terrifying.
to 4 were mostly for law school because of certain job positions, and with the job position that I have now, it was a group interview. And I was hella nervous for all of my freaking interviews. Like I said, even if I had to do one or with groups, I was the same amount of nervous for all of them. I actually thought I did really terrible with the interview that I have now with my current job, but it was a group interview. I don't know why I thought I did terrible. I was just probably very critical of it, but I guess I did well because I have the job.
Yes, get a girl.
But it can be intimidating. I'm not gonna lie. So yes, intimidating. But like I said, I get nervous with all of my interviews, but still I try to remain calm. I do my research. I just prepare as much as I can. Even if I have just with one person or with a group, I just prepare as much as I can because I feel better going into an interview knowing that I've prepared and done all the work that I could, and then just going in and doing my best and just acting like a human in general. Like in all of my interviews, I just try to be myself. Like, as it sounds super cheesy, but I just try to be myself. I try to present and be like likable in terms of like my answers, and just like that I'm a good human being and that like you will enjoy working with me is basically what I'm trying to get across in all of my interviews that I do. So definitely do that. Like I said, all the tips that we've done before, but it can be a lot, especially if you have like, it was easier for me to do it because I did it through Zoom. So it's easy for me just to look at a screen, but I've done in person with multiple people, and that's hard because you want to like,
make that eye
contact to all those people, and it can be a lot. So it was easier for me to do it through Zoom versus like in person.
Yeah,
so maybe
I bet
I did a little bit better with the Zoom one, but in general, like eye contact is good, especially with group interviews. And you might feel a little bit overwhelmed with all the questions from different people because they might have different thoughts. So they'll like bounce from different question to different question. So just try to focus on whatever they're asking and just try to answer the best as you can. And, you know, take your time, think before you speak. And if you don't understand a question or you can't hear or like, say that, explain like, oh, can you repeat it? And usually people just want to know who you are, to be honest. Once you have an interview, I feel like they already know that you're qualified. Now they just want to know if they can work with you.
Yeah. Those tips that you gave are good because I think we tell people to remain calm and to like just be themselves and be chill, but
it's so hard.
How do you do that? You know?
Yeah. How?
Like, what are some like specific ways to do that? Like and I've talked about this before. I hate when people tell me calm down or just stay calm. And I'm like, well, if it was that easy, I would do it. But I need more than that. Right. So so you can ask to repeat the question. You can take your time answering questions. Sometimes I felt the pressure to need to have an answer right away. And then I would like blurt out things that I didn't want to say, you know? So it's okay to first take your time to process the question, figure out how you want to answer, what you want to say, and then take your time speaking. You don't have to rush into it. You don't have to speak fast. What I do when I'm nervous is I speak really quickly.
Oh, me, same.
So I just
less
take
is more. Less is more.
For real. I try to catch myself
tells me all the time.
Yeah, that's good advice. I mean, it's true. You know, if you catch yourself speaking fast, it's okay to slow down, take a breath, process, and then keep going.
Yeah.
Another one you told me, Michelle, yesterday when we were planning this, or a couple days ago, whenever it was, is to take a sip of water. Oh, it's
That's
okay
what
to
I
drink
do. It
some water.
always helps me.
Yeah.
Like if you're like feeling nervous or anxious or you feel like you're rambling, because I ramble a lot. I mean, you're listening to this podcast. I freaking ramble. So what I do to break that is I'm like, oh, like I wouldn't like I will just take a sip of water, and like that gives just like a natural break where you can
Yes.
like your brain and you can just take a little, like it just is so calming, especially
Yeah.
like some cold water and a big gulp. It feels so good.
Yes.
So that's what I do, and it definitely helps me. So
Mhm.
yeah, I hope it goes well if you have an interview.
Yeah. Good luck, y'all. Y'all got this.
But yeah, it can be intense. It can be hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, and it is different. Like with COVID, I'm sure interviews are now being done more through Zoom or, online, and that's a very different experience than doing it in person. Most of my interviews have been in person, except for this one because of COVID, right? It was through Zoom, but it was just one person, and it also has a lot to do with the interviewer, with how they carry themselves, the vibe that they give you. Do they smile at you? Do they look at you? Like
the
vibes. Yeah.
You
it's
also
not just
like
you, it's them too.
Yeah, you have to decide if you want to. It's not just like if you want the job, but it's like, do you want to work for them?
Yeah.
Like off that interview, like, do you feel like you can work with them? Because obviously you want the job, but like sometimes you can be picky about whether you actually want to work with these people.
Well, that's the thing too, is like you said, they're looking to see if they can work with you, right? Because they can already see that you're qualified. Otherwise, they wouldn't have given you the interview, most likely. But now that interview, you can use that to see if you can work with them. So it has to be that mutual. It's mutual there. My most recent interview I was so nervous going in, but once I started, like the vibe that I got from my supervisor who interviewed me was like, it was very friendly. It was very much, it wasn't just like him hammering me with questions. It was like us going back and forth, sharing things. He would share a few things about himself and then ask me a question about something related to that, right? Or he would say, tell me about your experience abroad, when you went abroad. That sounds so cool, right? Like just like little comments like that kind of helped me like take a deep breath and like, okay, this is chill. This is, not all interviews are like that, unfortunately. There's going to be some times where it's like very just straight to the point, answer these questions, boom, boom, bye,
Yeah.
Or they just won't smile at you, or because that can be intimidating. Facial expressions is huge with communication. It's really big. And the facial expressions that you make, the body language that you have, the body language they have, it's all, a vibe, a certain type of vibe. And it's not always the greatest, but sometimes it does work. You have to read the room. Yeah. And it can be hard to do that. It can be hard to do that. It can be hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But be mindful of that. Yeah.
Funny story that I have, bro.
Uh-oh.
There was an interviewer who, I think my interview was like at 8 a.m. and he legit was falling asleep while he was asking me questions. It was the most uncomfortable and awkward interview that I've ever had in my life. I did get a call back, but I was just like, I'm not working here.
How long was the interview?
I don't even remember. It was like maybe like 30 minutes.
Okay, that's not too bad. I'm like, if it was an hour of him just like snoozing off, that would be awkward. I'm sure that would have, I feel like for me, that would have impacted like how I spoke, how I even, like, I feel like I would get distracted.
Oh yeah.
I'd be like,
at that point, I didn't care what I said. I don't think it mattered what I said. I was like,
yeah,
I want to get out. Yeah.
And in terms of asking questions towards the end, I think it's okay to ask what their hiring process looks like, to get an idea of like when they would be contacting you, because it's possible that you may be looking for multiple jobs, you may be interviewing with multiple jobs. The timing is really important. So yeah, it's okay to ask those things, like when they plan to have. I think that was a good way to how you phrased it, Michelle, earlier, is how do you before we recorded, how do you plan to have the position filled, right? Or when do you plan to have the position filled by, so that you kind of get a sense of the time versus saying, when are you going to get back to me, right? When can I
like
know?
Are you going to hire me? Like, do I start on Monday?
Right. There's ways to ask those questions and get those answers in certain ways.
Yeah. And you should definitely be able to ask that question.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So hopefully that helps. We went through a lot. We gave y'all a lot of information.
I know so
but
much.
Yeah, hopefully this helps. This would have helped me if when I was younger and like just starting off. But it's a lot of the stuff like I had mentioned before, I just learned as I went through the experiences, as I went through the job application process, through asking references, through interviews. But yeah, hopefully this helps y'all. Hopefully y'all took something out of this. Again, we always want to encourage y'all to comment, let us know what you think, or if you have any other tips, or like what was your interview process like, or what are some things that maybe we didn't talk about that you feel is important to talk about.
Yeah,
we can always do a part 2 as well. There's so much more to talk about when it comes to getting jobs and employment and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree. We kind of talked about like the general on the basics and gave some tips. So we hope you can take something out of this. And let us know if you want us to, like Cinthia said, talk more about it and do a part 2. But yeah, a lot of these things I didn't know until I experienced it. Like I said, trial and error, and having really bad interviews and having really great interviews. So it's definitely something that you get better with time.
Right.
So don't feel discouraged, or don't feel like especially with people who are more introverted and like a little bit more anxious like I am. I know it can be so tough to like put yourself out there and kind of be critiqued, because you are getting critiqued and getting looked at, and people are looking at your work experience and everything. So I know it can be a little anxious and a lot, but it's something that is doable, and you will get better with practice. So you can practice by yourself, you can practice with someone else. I know I have done both. And you do get better, and hopefully you get a job that you feel like you're being valued, and that you're being appreciated, and that they're paying you what they're supposed to be paying you. I know that's not the case for everyone. So yeah, I know that it's tough right now, and wish you the best.
Yeah, and you are your biggest advocate, right? So be sure to, as hard as it can be, to stick up for yourself, and especially to an employer. It can be
HR
incredibly hard. Yeah, HR. But who else is going to advocate for you if not for yourself? So but you do have people in your corner. You have us in your corner. We're supporting each other.
Yeah. And and if you have a job and you're working overtime and you're not getting paid overtime, it's
that's legal, right?
That's illegal. You should be getting paid overtime, unless there are certain requirements where you don't need to get paid overtime, but mostly most people should be paid overtime. So just make sure you're getting paid what you are working.
Yes.
Well, that was it.
That was it, y'all. That was it. Thank you for tuning in to yet another episode, whether you joined on the podcast platforms or on YouTube. We appreciate you listening. You made it all the way through. Again, thank you. Follow us, subscribe, comment, like this video, rate us on the podcast platforms. That'll really, really help us out in terms of expanding our audience and our community, and reach out to more people.
Yeah. And we have so many stories in terms of like where we worked and like interviews, and some good and bad stories. So if you want to hear those too, I've got a lot.
I'm interested in hearing these too. But yeah, I have some too. I have like not a big range, because a lot of my jobs are very similar, but I have a few stories.
I have some things that I'm super embarrassed about, and other things that I'm like super proud of. So yeah.
We all have those moments.
Yeah, I can share those. Let us know.
Let us know.
We are here for you to learn from, to listen to feel like maybe you're connected to it, or you can relate. But stay tuned. We have more episodes to come.
Yep. All right. Thank y'all, and we'll catch you at the next one. All right.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.